Meaningless.
Did you get all that? Please, guys, help me today.
Oh my God.
Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more amazing, entertaining, delightful, great disciple content.
Tell me where the freak's at.
Hold up. Hey.
Please raise your right hand. Emergency Services Officer Miles Wagner is suing his neighbor for vet bills and travel expenses. Defendant Sean D. says the plaintiff had his dog euthanized.
Let's see, Mr. Wagner, you're alleging that a Boxer Shepherd mix owned by Mr. D bit your dog and you as you were walking your 3 dogs down a certain street here in California. This was about 60 feet from the defendant's home, and it looks like the animal jumped a fence.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And Mr. D, you say you don't owe anything because you did your part to keep the late Danzig off of the street. The dog has been euthanized. That is the order of the Animal Control Services.
Correct.
And you say that's sufficient punishment. And you also say, through your witness, that the plaintiff knew that Danzig was territorial and still he continued to walk his dogs close to your fence.
Yes.
You first, sir. Now, I believe this is somewhere on or about the 12th of September year last.
It was September 13th at 7 o'clock.
September 13th. You were about 60 feet from the defendant's home. What happened?
I was finishing up the walk, evening walk that I take with all 3 dogs. We were approaching the, just past the defendant's house, actually. On the opposite side of the street, I stopped for a moment to talk to a neighbor. Danzig jumped the fence, came rushing over, and attacked Peaches and bit her on the rear, causing lacerations to both left and right thighs. Shook her up. In order to break the fight up, I had to pick the dog Danzig up by the tail, in the process getting my finger bitten before I actually managed to grab the tail.
Your thumb?
My thumb.
All right. You got medical treatment for that?
That's correct.
We'll be back with more Judge Joe Brown in a moment. Joe Brown, the plaintiff in this case, says he was walking his dog Peaches when the neighbor's dog, Danzig, rushed over and attacked his pet. He says he was injured in the process of pulling Danzig off. Let's get back to the case.
Now, I've got your medical and veterinarian bills.
That's correct. I took the dog to a 24-hour emergency veterinary hospital in approximately 80 miles from where I lived because I wanted a full care medical facility that could take care of it.
Now, you're an emergency services operator, is that right?
Officer, yes, sir.
All right, officer. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Did you get medical leave for the thumb bite?
I had to take vacation leave for it.
Okay. I've read your sworn accounting, sworn complaint. Let's go to the defendant. Why shouldn't you be liable for the plaintiff's medical and veterinarian bills?
Well, first of all, Judge Joe Brown, I spent a lot of money building a 6-foot fence around my property to keep my dogs inside my fence, never thinking that they would jump over a 6-foot fence.
You've had a reason to build that fence, haven't you?
Yes. And I
2 prior occasions, this same dog has bitten other dogs, has he not?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's correct, my dogs.
Anyways, I built a 6-foot fence thinking it would contain my animals, and obviously it wasn't big enough. Who would think they would jump over a 6-foot fence? I'd have a hard time jumping over that. But I did have signs up on my fence also saying, "Beware of dog," and I think that Miles knew that the dog was territorial.
Well, wouldn't that have to do with coming upon your property rather than being on the public streets?
It's a sign saying
Beware
saying
of dangerous dogs, but I
Right.
mean, the public streets are for the common good and common use.
Right.
People ordinarily walk themselves and our domestic animals,
Should be able to walk.
particularly dogs and pets, down the street.
But if you knew that there was a dangerous, maybe a territorial animal near your house, would you, if you could go around, would you go around?
Well, let's put it this way. Public peace, dignity, and order. This is not well for the public peace.
May I say something?
You want to come up? What's the deal?
I was there the day that...
Yes, and you say that the dog was known to be territorial, so why didn't the plaintiff do something about it?
Right. Well, why would you continue to walk by when it had already been
Why
an
would you
incident?
feel that you have a right to walk down your street in a high crime area? Might not be prudent, but don't you have the right?
Absolutely, but
So
it's not
you have
prudent.
criminals out there making it unsafe for people to walk through a high crime area. What happens when you have a dog that does the same thing?
I would avoid it. You know, and he could
You
hear how
would
upset they
avoid
get.
it.
I would avoid the
But
dog.
we can't have society based on to have thugs there. You're supposed to avoid the thugs, so they're thugs. Now, does that make sense? No. So, the rule is if you got the dog, you've got to restrain the dog. It's not I was surprised because the dog could jump this fence. Now, what we're talking about here are out-of-pocket expenses. I've got a veterinarian bill here that's $2,176.09, which, considering the description reflected in the veterinarian's report, is not excessive.
Is that just for the veterinary report bill, or is that his
Well,
hand?
that's the veterinary bill. He's not even claiming his own personal bill for getting bitten, which would bring in that recompense, his own pharmaceutical bill, which would demand that it be compensated for, pain and suffering, which would be adding the two of them together and multiplying it by 2 to 4 times and added it in the column, and then loss of earnings capacity for missing work.
I don't even know that he was bit by my dog, though.
Well, he
There was 4
was.
dogs.
He got
There
the
was-
medical report.
Well, there was 4 dogs.
He's
there.
got the medical report on that and the bills for that. Basically, a lot of his insurance paid for that. So he's entitled to a claim for that. I'm not going to allow your gas bill, but you still are entitled to the compensation for time off from work. So he's on all fours, literally, just like that dog on his case. So what I'm awarding you is I'm going to round the $2,906 off to $3,000. That'll be your reward along with your cost.
This courtroom is now in recess.
The defendant didn't expect his dog to jump a 6-foot fence, but he should have expected another attack because his dog had done it before. Plaintiff wins. We'll be right back.
First time that I'm seeing him since I gave him the money.
Did he play a game on his former friend?
She never gave me any money. She started harassing me, giving people my phone number, threatening me.
A gambling fool pulls a game on a former friend. Cocktail server Laura Ortiz is suing her former friend for personal loans. Defendant Malik Johnson says he's helped the plaintiff in the past. Now, here's Judge Joe Brown.
Ms. Ortiz, you say that the defendant, Mr. Johnson, is indebted to you in the amount of $2,700. It would appear that you made him a loan of $1,400 because he advised you that, being a friend, you had to help him out. He had gambled away some money that another acquaintance had given him to take to another location to set up an event, an entertainment event.
And I lent him the money. He told me that he'd give it back to me within a week. So a week goes by, he calls me again, and he told me that he needed to talk to me face-to-face this time. So I show up at his house, and he tells me that he needs another loan of $1,300 because something happened with this money. I don't know. He gambled it again.
It was on those terms. We was partying. I was either gambling or we was partying, and she was right there alongside with me.
And?
I'm trying to tell you, I'm going to get to the point. Many times I sat there and just blew thousands of dollars with her sitting right there with me, never asked for anything back from her. Soon as we stopped,
why would she have to
because she's gone.
give you anything back because you blew it?
The only reason why she's suing me is because I stopped.
Wait. My experience in casinos, what you're describing is, all right, baby, what should I put it on? Okay, there you go. You give her here's a little something for you.
Basically, that's
that
it.
was, well, yeah, so how is that she blew it?
That's all that happened. She never gave me any money.
Go and collect it back, but now we find out it was all her money anyway that was being gambled on these mutual outings to casinos in Atlantic City. Now, since all this happened, she has harassed me and called everyone I know, and I even had to change my phone number. I had considered paying her some of this money just to get her to leave me alone.
So what's wrong with that statement?
For her purposes, nothing at all. That means she gets $2,700 in a court call.